I just want to say that it completely changed Kobe's life having this bike. He's able to go ride it over in the parking lot behind our house at the school and just be like all the other kids. Him and his dad go over and ride all the time. It means a lot because he'll never drive a car. This is it. This is his transportation right here. So thank you.
He says he brags about us, and he does, but I want to brag about Variety because they're life-changing. Don't ever doubt it, because these kids could not balance on a regular bike. This lets them be just kids. Just kids. That's like magic. Thank you.
Don't you think we should get Mickey Scrow, Tim Wiebe, and Dave Hickton on bikes? Come on, help me out. Come on, guys.
Thank you, Charlie. Thanks to all of you. It's truly an honor to be here tonight and to present to you my dear friend, Tim Wiebe. I really owe my friendship with Tim to two others in the room, Mike Wagner and Ron Moeller. The background was this: many, many years ago, Mike Wagner and Jack Ham had a Christmas lunch with just the two of them. And gradually that lunch expanded to include Rocky Blyer and Andy Russell. And somehow, I think through the graces of Ron Moeller, Tim and I found ourselves year after year at this December lunch. What we shared was our Irish heritage, which meant that we had a contest every year about who was going to get more food on our tie as opposed to our mouth, because those of you who are Irish know that if it's an 80-20 ratio, mouth to close, you're doing pretty good. The other thing was we shared a great sense of humor, and Tim, at one point in one of these things, said, "Do you think they're ever going to realize that I'm from Cincinnati?" Our friendship extended beyond those lunches, and I found Tim to be, over the course of time, one of the most loyal and devoted friends a person could have. But what I didn't initially realize was how generous he was. And the reason for that is because Tim's signature in giving is he does it anonymously. And he kept coming up on my radar screen as an anonymous donor for oh so many things that you're familiar with. And it would violate our friendship if I would share the list with you, but trust me, the list is very long. So I'm going to tell you about two that I have his authorization to talk about. Tim has been a major supporter of the Boys and Girls Clubs here in Western Pennsylvania. And through that support, which is legion, he has gone beyond and included me in friendships with people like Mike Hepler and E.J. Ferris, who are here, who have truly enriched my life and proven the adage that the more you give, the more you get. But some of you may remember the word sequestration. During the time I was United States Attorney, we were under sequestration for a large part of my tenure. This meant a lot of things to me. It meant I couldn't hire, and at times it meant I was going to have to lay off the entire staff and go through the difficult process of identifying essential from non-essential people in the office when everyone was truly essential. Tim asked me in a random conversation, what did sequestration mean to me? And I got choked up because we were on the verge of having, which turned out to be 1 month before Sandy Hook, a really creative and path-breaking conference in Cranberry to try and protect our schools from a shooter. And I said, we're going to lose this conference, and I'm scared to death about what's going to happen. Without missing a beat, under sequestration, with me probably violating, former U.S. Attorney Corbett will tell you, every rule of the Department of Justice, Tim Wiebe paid for that conference. And we had the best experts in the country come in here, and we put on the best conference, which has now been replicated across the country, paid for by a private citizen because the government couldn't get out of its own way. I confess to all of you, and I'm sure all of you are with me, that I have really been struggling in the last week. I cannot reconcile the gap between the innocent victims, our wonderful community, and the sheer evil that visited us. But we all know it has happened before. And these questions are somewhat unanswerable. So I have been spending a lot of time talking to friends, keeping my family close, praying, and reading, which is what I do when I can't figure things out. An inspirational source for me always has been Gandhi. I saw myself as U.S. Attorney as a selfless leader. I aspire to be a selfless leader, a person who gives and earns their right to lead every day. And in reading about Gandhi, I found a less popular quote that he gave a long, long time ago, that when you are trying to find yourself, the best way to find yourself is in service of others. I think that's the message. We've seen a lot of angels this week. We have a lot of selfless leaders. Tom and Susan Corbett are selfless leaders I've had the privilege of being friends with and working with together. Leo is a selfless leader. Mickey is a selfless leader. Charlie and Therese are selfless leaders and angels on this earth. Deb Bryce and I have been friends for a long time. Don Hickton is a selfless leader. There are many other selfless leaders in this room. We will see our way through this. We will come through this. But tonight has been good for my soul because we have honored wonderful people. We have been able to do it because of all of you. And tonight with Mickey and Tim, we are recognizing selfless leaders from the community, which is going to be the solution to our journey. So it is with great pleasure I present to you one of my best friends, Tim Wiebe.
Well, I think there's been a lot of things said here tonight that, geez, I'm at the end of the line here. And, you know, as the great Henry Hillman once said to me, spouting whales get harpooned. And I didn't want to be one of those whales, so I don't show up at too many of these things. I've been involved in Variety for quite a few years, and I've never been to one of the dinners. So Charlie asked me about 6 months ago if they could honor me, and I said, for what? For 45 years, I've been in the rehab business. For 45 years, I've been blessed with all these children that you saw here tonight. I saw Ron from Blackburns, and he said, Tim, how many years have you been in this? And I said, well, I put you in business, so it's got to be at least 42, 43 years ago. These kids have meant a lot to me, and I lived in a neighborhood in Swickley. In the morning, I'd get up to drive my car out, and it was real close to D.T. Watson. And I'd look at the school bus window, and their little faces would be pressed against the window. And I'd drive down to the bottom of the street, and I'd start crying. I thought, golly, what can I do for these kids today? So I found this guy, Charlie. I found a lot of other causes. And God's blessed me. And I wanted to bless these kids and their families. Variety has given me that opportunity. I met a wonderful gentleman in Charlie. It's just been delightful. I remember the first time you guys that are, and gals that are old enough can remember White Swan Park. I used to have a wheelchair wash there, and I would bring the kids, and it'd be the first time they ever got to ride a ride or be in an amusement park. It was wonderful to see them. So when I got involved here, Charlie, it brought me back. I've been out of business about 12 years now, and it's been tough because I miss these kids. And all I can say to all of you is that it's all about love. And you're going to hear here in a little bit about that love and why it's so important. You know, I'm a Marine, and I know what these boys went through this week in Squirrel Hill, and I know what these families are going through because I went through it. I witnessed it. There's a gentleman in the room tonight. His name is Mike Hepler. Dave touched base on him tonight. He's going to retire this year. He gave 50 years of his life to the Boys and Girls Club. He's a Vietnam veteran. He's got 3 silver stars, 2 bronze stars. He's won the West Point Award. There's not many that ever win that. Mike has dedicated his life to these kids, and it's just wonderful. It was wonderful to see him here tonight. Mike, are you here? Where are you? Would you please stand up? I'd like to give a round of applause to Mike up there. Again, thank you, Charlie. Mickey, goes without saying, you've done a heck of a job for these kids, and it's wonderful that I'm standing here tonight and able to give back because of people like you and other people that have been involved in Variety. We come together today in a time of great hurt. I know that hurt. A lot of these people were my good friends. I used to go to that Rehab Institute there right down the street from that synagogue. I don't know how many times I was in that rehab center, but many good and innocent people have been taken from us. We mourn for each one of them and their families, their faith and their community. We mourn them because they are all part of Pittsburgh. I think Dave alluded to the fact that I came from Cincinnati. It was after I got out of the Marine Corps, I moved to this beautiful town. It's a wonderful place. I've met a lot of wonderful people here. The loss of each one of these people tears me apart. To see those 2 brothers that I used to see 20 years ago walking up and down the streets in Squirrel Hill and waving at me. Just think about that. Innocent, in a place of worship, and somebody takes their life. It's horrible. But we're one at this time. Everybody in this room, we're all together. Well, I'm truly honored by the Sheridan Award. It has not changed my view that the things you do, the actions you take, and the value help create for others vastly outweighs any recognition you may receive yourself. But being here today gives me the opportunity to share my thoughts of 2 subjects that are much on my mind these days: heroes, role models, or more appropriately, the demand for genuine heroes and role models, particularly for our kids and for the future of this society and the culture that we are creating for them. But before I venture down that path, I'd like to introduce my heroes and role models. My wife, Kathy, if you all stand up. AKA Mimi. My daughters Heather, Jennifer, their husbands Todd and Craig, my grandchildren Marin, Gabrielle, Beckett, and Morgan. They kept asking today, why can't we go? Why can't we go? Why can't we go? They're twins, 2 of them. They just keep asking Mom that same question. My brother is here tonight with his wife, Debbie, William, and Laurel, who couldn't be here. She's in San Francisco, but My brother drove up in a car today. He suffers from bone cancer, renal cancer, and lung cancer. Bill, if you'll stand up. This is the heart of my team. When you think about heroes and kids, where's the ideal place to begin? With a good friend of mine. And I heard his name mentioned here so much tonight. He really was the real deal. How about with the thoughts of Fred Rogers? Fred once said that anyone who does anything to help a child is a hero to me. How true is that? What can we do to improve what I am increasingly afraid is becoming a belligerent and intolerant society? Well, we can once again call on Fred Rogers for a solution. Mr. Rogers told the story, as you heard here earlier. That was his mom that told him that, by the way. Always told him that when he was confronted by a disaster to look for helpers. Each and every one of you in this room tonight is a helper. Believe me, you're a helper. And that's what we need more of in this country. So what can we do to address the dreadful example being set by so many of today's supposed leaders? We can all be helpers. When we see folks in need, we can reach out, we can be a helper. When we see a youngster who needs a hand, we can be a helper. Some of us can do more than others, but we can all take action, showing that success in life is not defined by how much we accomplish for ourselves, but how much we help others achieve themselves, for themselves. We can take time to let youngsters suffering from a tough disease know that we have faced or overcome the challenges ourselves. I had the privilege on Labor Day to have my grandchildren walk with the kids with the bikes. Before then, they wanted to interview me. There was a little Gabby. I talked to her for a little bit of time, and I said, "What do you got, Gab?" She says, "I got non-Hodgkin's." I said, "Gab, let me tell you something. 44 years old, I was discovered with non-Hodgkin's. I'm 70 in 10 days. She said, "Really?" There was hope. I see her here tonight. There's hope. Charlie called me and said, "Tim, Gabby wants to talk to her sister. And what's going to make a difference? Can we get her an iPad?" So we get her whatever she needs. So Gab now has an iPad. She talks to her sister while she's getting chemo. And it just so happens my little granddaughter's name's Gabby. I love these kids. I love them from the bottom of my heart, like Mickey Scrove said. We can be thankful for what we have. We can be kind to others and leave this room with this tonight. We can all be helpers. God bless you, and thank you for this award. You okay?